Terrorism is terrorism and there can be no whitewashing. What happened in Pahalgam was an act of Islamist terror, and today there are many calling out the Western media for its attempt to obfuscate. On your screens is that image of the way the New York Times tried downplaying what happened in Pahalgam. The U.S. Republican majority on the House Committee on Foreign Affairs has lashed out at the New York Times for its reporting of the Pahalgam terror attack. 26 people lost their lives. They were massacred in the meadows of Besaran. And what does the New York Times say? It calls it a shooting incident. Believe it or not, yes, that's the coverage that today has been called out. It refers to terrorists as militants and gunmen in its story. GOP House Foreign Affairs Committee was quick to fact-check New York Times on social media platform. If you see what they've done, they've replaced the word militants with terrorists, and what they said is that this is the statement that's by the committee that comes after the U.S. administration has strongly supported India in its fight against terrorism. Let me go across to Pradeep Datta. New York Times is not the only Western media outlet. Pradeep, we've seen how there have been other portals too who have very conveniently chosen to downplay, to whitewash, to obfuscate the truth about Pahalgam. But today there are many who are calling them out.
Yes, you're absolutely right that on social media we have seen that there is a massive outrage against these outlets, media outlets operating from the Western countries. And this is not first time where they have tried to obfuscate or whitewash any of the activity of terror on the Indian side. They've done it in the past also. The first question that is being asked, these are not militants, these were terrorists because they tried to kill people, they tried to identify them because of their faith, they tried to kill them, and 28 of them lost their lives and many others were critically injured. And the second thing is that they are saying that they were on the shooting spree. It was a Pak-sponsored terrorism and it was a terror-related activity. I think they are still continuing with that old theory what they had been following since ages, that good terrorists and bad terrorists. There's nothing called good terrorists and bad terrorists. I think if they have to really understand terrorism, they should read the book of Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton has already mentioned in her book that if you are going to feed snakes in your backyard, don't think that they're only going to bite neighbor or other country, they can bite you too. So they should understand whatever is happening on this side of the country can happen there too, because we have seen that before 9/11 attack, there was an attack.
I want you to stay with us, Pradeep, because let's also listen into how members of the Hindu American Foundation are also very strongly calling out the likes of the New York Times and other Western media outlets for trying to downplay the reality of the Pahalgam terror attack, an attack sponsored, aided and abetted by Pakistan.
Daylight, terrorists from the Resistance Front, a Lashkar-e-Taiba offshoot, took credit for storming a meadow in Pahalgam and murdering at least 26 tourists, seeking out Hindus with chilling precision in the worst civilian massacre in Kashmir since 2008. The headlines should be simple. Hindus massacred in Kashmir by Islamists in a terror attack claimed by a Pakistan-backed terror group. But what do we get from the New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, BBC, Reuters, and AP? Another masterclass in whitewashing, gaslighting, false equivalencies, and revisionist history, plus some spin and lies by omission for extra credit. Let's break it down. Across the board, you'll see patronizing sneer quotes around terror attack and sanitized references to the killers as militants. Some even have the gall to call them rebels. For the record, a rebel fights authority, a militant targets the state, and a terrorist deliberately targets and kills civilians to spread fear for ideological or religious aims. Survivors recount how terrorists demanded victims identify their religion, forcing them to show IDs or recite the Kalma, and murdered them if they were Hindu.
In Pakistan, there are some who are calling the terrorists behind the Pahalgam massacre freedom fighters. Pakistan also once called Osama bin Laden a martyr, and now the Western media is getting called out for trying to obfuscate. We'll get you all those updates. Time now for us to take a short commercial break.